The Joint on Sirius XM. This is no disrespect, but no disrespect, no better. No disrespect, but could you step aside now? Another man wants to take away. Now you don't know what you got, but you surely gonna lose it. Step aside now. Let me show you how to treat a woman. She needs a tender touch. She needs loving so much. Tell me how you crazy, leaving her so lonely, so lonely. Now she's a winner, so you better protect her. 'Cause when you're feeling blue, you don't know what to do. She will comfort you. She's a dream come true. She will be your friend when you think that it's the end. She's always around, always around. Won't you step aside now? Another man wants to be the ruler. 'Cause you don't know what you got. So now it's time to lose it. Step aside now. Let me show you how to treat a woman. She needs that tender touch and loving so much.
Good morning, folkers. Snap Turtle in the vehicle, on his way to work. Right now, the weather's partly cloudy with a 5% chance of chemtrails. It's kind of cold this morning. Anyway, what's good, everybody? I wanted to talk about something that's very important and we need to think about in the immediate future. All right? We need to talk about it. And I'm going to start with a question. And if you can, please, I really want to know what your response is and what you think. Just leave your answer in the comment section if you feel up to it or you feel like you want to. My question is, do we need government? Now, I want y'all to think long and hard about what that means. I want you to think long and hard about the answer. And I want you to ask yourself a question. What good has the government ever did for anyone? Now, that's a serious question, y'all. Because I thought long and hard about it. And I'm going to stick with the U.S. government. I'm going to deal with this in terms of our government that we have here in the United States. All right? Or so-called United States. What good has the government ever done for anyone? Aside from the corporations that are in league with the government and that benefit off the government rule. They call themselves capitalists, but really what they are corporatists. And they benefit from government intervention. They benefit from government regulation. They benefit. They see what they do is they lobby with our representatives. They lobby with our representatives so that they can make laws that would benefit them or abolish laws that would benefit them once it's abolished. So let's forget about the corporatists for a second. Let's talk about the 99%. What benefit do we have from the government? And I want y'all to really think about that. And I'm going to give you my answer in the meantime. I'm going to say that there is no benefit. We have not benefited in the least from the government. We have, in fact, suffered by the hands of the government. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The government has never done any good for its people. What's the thing that they do to everyone? Every working person in this country, what do? They extort us. If you're working, you're going to give us money. All right? If you're working for a corporation, you're going to pay us out of your pocket what you earn from that corporation to a certain percentage. And they do this every time we get paid. They get their money off the top. All right? Or the corporation that you work for takes the money off the top. And if you're a private contractor, you get a 1099 and you best to report those earnings every quarter or whenever you decide to report them, or at the end of the year during tax season. And then by April 15th, you better give us our cut. Now, taxation was really supposed to be for the corporations. It wasn't supposed to be done off of our earnings, right? It was supposed to be done from the corporations that use our labor to produce, okay? But even that's wrong. But let's look at this. And this is one way the corporations benefit from the government intervention. These corporations have hundreds of tax write-offs that they can use. And at the end of the day, may not pay a dime for taxes. If they have a good tax lawyer, they ain't paying a dime. So we working people, we middle class so-called people, have to make up their end. So the tax cuts that we get become less and less available. Your boy Trump decided that he was going to take away deductions for your children and your spouse if she wasn't working. Yep. So many people lost out on hundreds of dollars this tax season. I think it was $60 million. I don't know, some huge amount that wasn't able to be claimed this year. That was able to be claimed before this new tax scheme came into place. But the corporations got more cuts. No, the government has done no good for the people at all. If there's a disaster, let's use Hurricane Katrina for an example. When Hurricane Katrina was about to hit land, they went to every door and took everyone's weapons away. All right, the people that had decided to weather the storm, whether they were smart for doing that or not, it was their choice. they decided to stay there in their homes and see if they could beat this storm out. So what did the government do for making that decision? They decided they were going to take all their guns. You can't defend your home with a gun. So now you have to worry about looters, and you have to worry about a flood drowning the hell out of you. So the government took a means of defense away from your home. They just ran up in there, placed you guys under martial law, and took your guns by force and on TV. Then what happened? The levees that the Army Corps of Engineers built failed miserably. And there you have Hurricane Katrina in the aftermath. And what did you have when there was no power and the hurricane had just ended? Well, you had mercenaries, cops, and soldiers running through New Orleans in a few wards, killing black people, hunting them down and taking them out. Because guess why? The government had to make sure that no one was able to reclaim this land so that the corporations can come in and buy the land for the cheap. The corporation. And their millionaire and billionaire CEOs who never had to lift a finger, who haven't had to lift a finger in maybe decades. Corporations that benefited from slavery. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for government, slavery would not have been possible in this country. I'm talking about this country. And even in other countries where slavery was happening, because of governments. Because it was allowed and sanctioned. And the government earned money from the slaves that worked. The owners of the slaves kicked back to the government for allowing them to have slaves so that they lazy ass didn't have to work for something. Have you found anywhere in what I've been saying where the government has done some good? Okay, welfare programs. That ain't free. You know what they do? They extort working people to give money to people on welfare. Now, I don't have an issue with people being on welfare when they need it, okay? If you worked your ass off for so many years, you get laid off, you can't find a job, your unemployment runs out, okay, you might have to go on welfare until you find figure something out. But guess what? You put money into the system that gives people welfare, therefore you're entitled to it to a degree. Because you put money into it. But what about the people that never put money into it? What about the people? What about the illegals that come over here and get all kind of benefits in certain states? Simply because they're illegal. See, your government gets to pick and choose who they want to help and uplift. And it's not really upliftment. It's really just pandering for votes. When they give illegals things, it's pandering. Now they're talking about giving black people reparations. still, if they decide, okay, we're going to give people reparations, is that going to be a benefit, or is that going to cause resentment? More resentment and division in this country. Now, I could give a hot shit about how a white person feels about a black person getting reparations that are really owed to them, because it should have went to their ancestors immediately, but it didn't happen. You had sharecropping. The government decided that they weren't going to uphold their end of the bargain when they abolished slavery. Yet another thing that the government screwed us on. So you didn't give us reparations right away. As a matter of fact, you initiated sharecropping, which is just another form of slavery. And we had to pay the owners of the land that we were working on our entire wage because they loaned us something so that we could live after we were just kicked off the plantation, after we were freed, after our ancestors were freed from slavery. They had nothing. They were given nothing. They were not given that 40 acres and a mule. They were not. Yet again, I am failing to see the benefit of government rule. Let's talk about gun control. We have an entity that wants to dictate what we can use to defend ourselves against an attacker. We have a government, we have an entity that says, look, we want to talk about what you can use and can't use. We have a government that's trying to dictate which rights they want to protect, because all of the rights covered in the Bill of Rights are natural rights. They're not given by man. They're natural. I can use whatever means in nature to defend myself. They're natural rights. They're naturally given to me. That means I can use whatever I have to use for defense, to defend myself. But what we have is government-initiated productions. All right, I'll just say that. Government-initiated productions that give these politicians the means to manipulate the people into believing that they need to take away our rights to keep and bear arms. Government-initiated productions. Huh? And all you got to do is look and study and see that, yes, these are indeed productions. What about laws? Well, you need law to keep the peace and keep order. Well, I would have to disagree with that. You just need human decency. Because many of these laws are arbitrary and they're decided by a Congress and a Senate that really don't have our best interest at heart. The interest they have is in being greased by corporations. Once again, it's all about the corporations and the bankers greasing the wheels, greasing the palms of these politicians to get what they want done. And, you know, you can't have, the bankers can't rule, the bankers can't get what they want unless they have laws in place to keep the population in check. See, Anarchy gets a bad name. All right, people think it just means chaos and just people running around, looting and raping each other. And no. That's not what that is. All it is, all anarchy is saying, is that you don't need an entity such as the government to dictate over our lives. That's all it's saying. That means if I want to take a group of people and go live on some land somewhere, we can form our own system. You know what I mean? Whether we want to make rules or not. Really what it's about is I can take a group of people, we can go get some land somewhere without the permission of the government, because much of the land in this country is regulated by the government. And people, this country is 90-something% rural open space. Without the government, I could take a group of people, or anybody can take a group of people. A group of people can get together that are like mine. They can go off and live in nature and do what they want to do and come up with a system, as long as they're not harming each other, as long as they're not doing anything to harm each other, as long as they're decent to each other, as long as they respect each other. Because truth be told, there's always going to be people out there that want to do harm to others. And so you deal with that accordingly when it comes up. Or you weed it out. You look at the behavior of a person or people to determine if they're going to be a good fit. And of course, in that group, you need a means to defend yourself. You need a security force. You need the weapons to deter any type of intrusion and any harm that may be done to you. That's always going to be needed. So you take your group, and now you don't have some greasy politicians thousands of miles away telling you what you can and can't do on that land with your group of people. Now, if you want to be nudist and have orgies all day, that's up to you and your group. But you have to understand also that you have no one to depend on other than your group. That means that you get to have some intuitive people. You're going to need people. You're going to need visionaries. You're going to need intelligent people. You're going to need people that are good with their hands, that know how to build things. You're going to need people that know how to fight. So you build your group accordingly. Oh, well, who's going to build the roads and the schools and blah, blah, blah? What, you don't think people knew how to build roads before the government came along? Or you think they needed the government to learn and know how to build? You don't think they had the mind to know how to build roads? You don't think people know how to get a mixer and get all the stuff needed, the asphalt? You need a government to do that. You need the government to clear and to level the earth so that you can go ahead and start paving. You think that you don't need the government for that. You just need the people that know how to do it. And you need to come up with the means to do so. See, the corporations and companies can exist without the government. You'll just have different private companies competing to build those roads. It's healthy competition. That means that, you might get the lowest price and the best price for you. And at the same time, you're employing people. But you depend on the government to build roads and bridges that haven't been retrofitted and redone in decades. potholes and this, that, and the third. Some municipalities taking millions of dollars to build a road. To build a road or whatever the case may be, to rebuild the streets. And they lose that money. And now you have potholes all over the place. All right. How well did the government do with those roads? There was a kid in one city who got tired of waiting for the government to build to fill potholes. So he did that himself. He took dirt out of his yard and went to fill the potholes so that the cars wouldn't be damaged going down the road. See, he had the anarchist mind state. That kid had the anarchist mind state. 12 years old. And he would have to go and repeatedly fill those potholes. Because it just used dirt. It wasn't a permanent solution. But it was a simple fact that he knew, okay, I can't wait for the government to do this. I'm going to do it myself. And that's what he did. Now, this is not something I could really cover in one day. I mean in 20, 30 minutes. So I think I'm going to continue this as a series. What benefit is the government to us? Do we need government? What good has it done? What good has a government done for its people? That's all I want to know. If y'all can come up with something, let me know in the comment section. What good has the government ever done for us? Anyway, hit that like button. Share this video. Subscribe if you ain't subscribed yet. I'm gonna get back at y'all. All right. Much love to you. Peace.